Hey everyone, welcome back once again. It's Time Spiraled. We're catching up with two new players here in MSEM League. We've got Nixolium and Neon Blue facing off against each other today. I haven't even checked what decks they're running, so we're going to see who gets the play and keep, and then we're going to take a peek at those hands. Nix, I believe, told me that there's 9 Toll Midnight cards in the deck, which is really exciting considering that I'm the set designer. I'm assuming, yeah, some of them might be the new MDFC cards. So let's get a little peek at what's going on both sides. It looks like we've got a white-blue control shell down here for Nyx, and over on Neon's looks like we're running Legends. I'm seeing a lot of cards like Mattia, Xifang, Daisy Saxon, as well as Chikami Castle and Many Voiced Tower. Usually signifies that we're on Legends. I'm going to run out this tapped Ocean Monastery, nothing to do on one, so, no sense paying the life. Chikami Castle, being able to spend mana for any legendary spells or legendary permanents, means we get to run out a Lieutenant Daisy Saxon out here on turn 1. It's a 1-1 with Cadence, which is whenever you cast a spell, if the mana value is greater than this creature's power, you get to put a counter on it, and then you can pay 1 in a red, remove a counter to deal 2 damage to a player or planeswalker. Sorry about that. My cat just wants to say hello, but she's not allowed on the desk, so she's going to have to go back to the bed where she was. Yes, she's a good girl. Over on Nyx's side, one of the new End of Woolensea Distant Path enters tapped unless you control 1 or fewer other lands, taps for white or blue, and has cycling. I really like these cards. We ran out a Midnight Dreary, so once each turn when you activate a non-mana ability, you can create a tapped 1/1 white spirit creature token with flying, and then it has its own 6 mana ability to gain a life and draw a card. So this is the white-blue non-mana ability, I would assume control, which is why we're seeing planeswalkers and cards like that. Over here, we ran out Many Voiced Tower, which also has the ability to add mana of any color for Legends, but it costs a life. But that's because it comes with a sack ability where you can sacrifice Many Voiced Tower to get a legendary card into your hand, but only if you control 5 or more differently named lands. The two of them together, we're going to run out Xifang Hu, which is going to make non-creature spells cost 2 more to cast until your next turn, and Daisy went up to a 2/2. Back on the other side, cracking that Wayfarer's Shrine does trigger the activate non-mana abilities, so we have a tapped Spirit, and we're holding up 3 mana. We have options with Event Horizon here. Over on the other side, did not find a third land, so that's something to keep in mind. I'm seeing a new card here in the form of Elise Fisher from Toll Midnight, a 3/3 for 3 that begin combat on your turn. Creatures you control gain your choice of Trample, Menace, Haste, or +1/+0 until end of turn. We've also got Assemble the Party, which costs 1 less for each legendary creature you control, which is, we're currently at 2, which can tutor out a legendary creature onto the battlefield. Crewmaster Gilo can get a few more lands in. Marcus Davenport can chip in quite a bit of damage as a 3/3 haste, and Mattia, Hero of Tiny Vale, as a flash 1/1 that when it enters or becomes tapped, you can put counters on creatures, and then you can force creatures to be blocked this turn. So a lot of interesting stuff here. Event Horizon was being thrown out at Xifang Hu. Was that supposed to be... Hold up. Oh, no, that was the previous turn, because, yeah, sorry, we're all good. Just wanted to make sure that we weren't cheating around Xifang Hu. So we went with Mattia flashing in instead. Decided to put the counter on Mattia. Xifang got exiled over here by Event Horizon. Drew into Alratha, Pearl of the Sandsea, a really good land. The fact that it's 1 and a blue to investigate is usable and useful in a lot of decks. It's a recurring non-mana ability for cards like Midnight Dreary, and then the clue that it makes is also, and then, so on and so forth. It just does a lot. Hemley Eggfeather is going to -2 to put a non-land permanent into its owner's library, second from the top. Also going to trigger Midnight Dreary, and that's going to put Lieutenant Daisy Saxon shouldn't be on top of the library, though. Let me just check real quick. Okay, we're fixing it. It's fine. Yeah. All right. So these spirits are eventually gonna, get pretty wide unless we find some Some answers. Still not drawing that third land here over on Neon Blue's turn. We did draw into a Jack Daring Vanguard, which is a really strong legend. Whenever it or another legendary creature you control enters, your creatures you control get +1/+0 and haste until end of turn. So, a really solid card. Can trigger a lot of damage. And the art's, fantastic, so that's always nice. Okay, running out the Jack. Gonna give +1/+0 to the Mattia for a turn. I'm assuming we're not running Jack blind into the 1/1 Spirit. That doesn't seem correct. Feels like you want to have that so that next turn you can start playing out your other legends and giving them haste, but maybe you feel like you need to put on the pressure towards Hemley. Okay, that is the correct thing, so I can see the reason for doing that. I don't know. Oh, my bad. I forgot the Mattia was also when it becomes tapped. So the counter went on Jack. We're at 3-2 on Jack. That's exactly what we wanted. Unfortunately, Event Horizon in hand says, all right, well, we'll take that out. And then the question is, do you get... Yeah, of course. All right, good to see. Blocked with the Spirit. No damage on Hemley. Hemley's going to survive to -1 another day. Hemley doesn't actually have a plus, so whatever you run out with Hemley is what you got, unless you got ways of reusing it, which does exist. Drew into a Cosmic Sinkhole, really good counterspell, probably one of the better ones, if not the best counterspell in the format. The flexibility of being a counter on 1, on 3, or on 5 is really good. I don't know what happened here, but a clue got traded over. I would assume... Oh, no, the clue script was broken. It's fine. So we played an Alratha, wanted it untapped, so the opponent gets a clue because of the first part. I'm assuming that's going to be the untapping. Yeah, so tap target non-land permanent. It does an untap. That was the non-mana ability, so we get a tapped 1/1 Spirit. And it is only once each turn, so it doesn't go too crazy. Love the art. One of the few cards I think the gold Nyx frame just looks so nice, so it's a change that I think is really nice. Paying 2 mana to run out Aberrant Apostle, one of Toll Midnight's new cards. It's a MDFC on the backside. It's got a tapped land. But the part that's really nice about it is the very modal removal abilities. It does cost 1 less the turn you play it, so you can get it just for 1 and a white. But afterwards, you have to hold up the 1 mana for destroying an artifact, an enchantment, or a card from the graveyard. I have a feeling we'll see this card around. It's quite modal, especially because you can also be a land. So I'm happy to see it being played. That's for sure. All right, so still hasn't drawn the third land. So Crewmaster Gilo going to come out trying to find a land card, but Cosmic Sinkhole says, no, thank you. I'm okay with you still being stuck on 2. Passing it back. All right, what do we got here? A Terraformer's Globe. That's not a bad draw. It cycles itself, and then your lands can become the basic land type of your choice until end of turn. That also triggers Midnight Dreary. And we drew into a Monument of Queens, which is a pretty good finisher creature land. Can slowly grow into a pretty strong avatar with Flying, First Strike, Vigilance, Trample, and Lifelink. Takes a little bit of time to get there, but if we start putting in the mana and the work, it'll happen. So I'm gonna move to combat. Gonna keep a Spirit just in case. Gonna swing in for 3 here, and then Terraformer's Globe is going to turn Monument of Queens into, I guess, whatever. Yeah, I guess the whole point is just to trigger Midnight Dreary. So get another tapped Spirit, passing the turn over. Really hoping for a land here on Neon. It's really rough. Being stuck on 2. Yeah, it's pretty rough. Not out of it, still at 16. Nyx's deck isn't putting huge amounts of pressure yet. It's slowly going to get there. There's a lot of spirits and monuments and stuff, but you still have plays at 2. And alrighty. Marcus Davenport's going to come out as a 3/3 with haste. Going to attack here. And I believe... All right, put the counter on Mattia. Okay. And takes 2 from Marcus attacking. Let's see what we've got going on here. Okay. Paying the 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. Making and cracking a clue. Drew into an embodied soul. And is going to block the 4-3 with the 1-1. Taking 3 damage from the unblocked Marcus. Not going to see that attain at 6 mana anytime soon, but for those of you curious, turns into an absolutely stacked dragon, the branded usurper. But most players are just running it for the fact that it's a legend, a 3-3 haste for 2, and yeah, it deals 2 damage to you, but you know, it kills your opponent a little faster. Out of body experience, pretty good draw here. Exile removal is always good, and the 1/1 blue elemental, even though it has evasion, you have a lot of spirits, and it reduces the legendary quantity on the opponent's side of things. I'm guessing we're going to see Embodied Soul coming out, because you want that out early, so when you start casting non-creature spells, you can slowly start upgrading it, and eventually it'll turn into a 4/4 with Flying, First Strike, Vigilance, Lifelink, which is not bad for a 1-drop, that's for sure. Alright. Off of that, Terraformer's Globe is just such a cheap way of activating Midnight Dreary, so we're going to get another... making it a forest, I guess. Making another tap spirit. Going for combat. Going to swing in for 3, it looks like here. Aberrant Apostle and the White Spirit. Leaving blockers. Life total's at 10, which could be risky. It's sad to see Neon just drawing into 3-drop after 3-drop, but I guess we have a Lieutenant Daisy. We have an Assemble the Party, which costs currently 2 less. So if you've got a legendary creature with mana value 2, like Gilo, that could maybe draw you a land, or getting one of your other 2-drops, like a Jack, for example. I think the one issue is you can't spend these on green-white, so you're really looking for green-white cards. That's true. You can't use that. So gonna crack the clue, saying, hey, I'm just gonna draw, and there we go. We have a Verdant Bluff. Gonna tap red, gonna play out Lieutenant Daisy Saxon. Now we're on 3. A lot of things open up here, but we'll see if it's maybe too little, too late. Gonna swing in every time that Mattia can attack. Yeah, so before attacks, out of body. You don't want that counter. It's one of the things is that you got to be careful about using the start combat, attack, block. It's just part of using Cockatrice because it's doesn't have actual rules enforcement. You got to just keep that in mind. So there we go. So they get, you know, there's a 1/1 blue elemental as a I'm so sorry, but changes a little bit how combat goes. You know, you don't want to just throw in the 3/3, I guess, here at this point. So Nyx is going to make a clue off of Alratha. That's going to make another spirit because it's a non-mana ability activated during your opponent's turn. Oh, and we're using the funky clue from the secret lair. It's kind of funny because I believe this is Nyx's profile picture. So very cool, you know, token artifact clue, and it's got it here. This was a really cool lair. I liked it a lot. Very cool token here. Drew into another out-of-body experience. I mean, yeah, if you just turn everything your opponent does into 1/1 flying elementals, I mean, eventually you just, you know, clean their clocks out. Cracking a lair, cracking a clue. I saw a lair and immediately thought of that. Going to draw a card. I believe that's also a Midnight Dreary trigger. I don't think we had one this turn. Maybe we did. Well, I mean, it is a May. I'm not going to be the one to call them out on it if I did miss it. Okay, there it is. Getting lots of lands. We've got paths. We've got sedate tundras. We've got pools of light. A lot of little things. I mean, there's so many triggers, right? Attacking with 3 in the air, 3/1/1 flyers. You could trade your elemental, but Do you really want to? Do you have to? Probably not. You go down to 7. So as I said, Midnight Dreary, this is just one copy, right? That has just been accruing value little by little. It doesn't take much more for these things to suddenly deal a finishing blow, you know? Out of body experience in hand is going to make that embodied soul get its second one, which is going to make it a 2/2. We're not even having to activate Monument of Queens at this point. We have Aberrant Apostle if ever an artifact, an enchantment, or anything comes down. Let's see what we get. All right, drawing into Nebula means we have our 4th land. Feels pretty late at this point. Kailan can get rid of non-land permanents with mana value 2 or less, so could get rid of Midnight Jury, but is that going to be enough? You don't have a lot of flying blockers here. Elise is cute, but I don't think what you want right now. Assemble the party you could get there, and it would be, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4. X could be 4 if you have a 4-drop legend. Probably worth checking your deck list to see if you have something. I can't check this player's deck list, unfortunately. That would be an abuse of the spectator privileges, so I can't just go digging into their decks. So let's see what the play is here. I mean, we're at 7. Your opponent's got 4, 5, 6 flying in the air. Going to be 7 because you can tap a Terraformer's Globe to get another one. You got 1 elemental able to block. I mean, and there's also the Aberrant on the ground. It's looking pretty dicey. Going to be very hard for you to swing in, putting points of damage. So we're going to let Neon Blue think a little bit on it. We're going to take the time to look at Kailan the Puppeteer and Henry River City's Mayor. Kailan is really cool as a 2/3 vigilance for 3. You exile a non-land permanent an opponent controls with mana value 2 or less when it enters, and they get an idle token, which is a artifact with 1. Here, I'll just bring it up. It's a 1 sacrifice the artifact, put a counter on a creature, but activate only as a sorcery. So. And then Henry River City's Mayor, one of the cards that was brought in through MSL. So these were cards that were in our sister format, Revolution Custom Standard. And we had a little bit of a trade where we got 1 legend from each of their sets in our little legend pool. So it was a really cool little thing there. It can be countered. Vigilance, 4/3 for 3, and non-creature spells cost 1 more to cast. So. Okay, Neon was thinking about casting something here, opted not to do so. It's a tough position to be in. Doesn't look like anything in your hand cleanly answers. Again, I'm not aware of what Assemble the Party is able to get or not, and obviously playing a Nebula is risky. It would put you down to 5 life, so let's see what people say. Yep, still thinking. It happens. I mean, you know, it's the kind of game where there's a lot of stuff that can go wrong, a lot of pain points. So we'll see what ends up happening. Get a look at Embodied Soul's new Nyx frame here, having added the enchantment frame to MSEM. So ahead of the Foundation's canon release, we've already gone and made that change here, as we've also done with Enters. So, all right, Neon says, you know what? We're conceding this one. We're behind, might not be able to do much, but let's take it in game 2. So players are going to check their sideboards. I'm not 100% sure what they're packing because, again, the joys of League means that we don't actually get to bring up your sideboards, but we'll see in their opening hands if anything gets added in. Usually we can tell if a card has been sideboarded or not, so let's give that a look. So I guess I can also talk a little bit about Revolution while we wait for players to finish sideboarding. Revolution, as I said, is our sister format. So it's Revolution Custom Standard. It's hosted by a completely other server. It just happens that there's a lot of overlap in terms of players and stuff. And they're looking for content creators. So if you're interested and you want to do something with Standard, there's less cards than MSEM, that's for sure. Rev has you covered. I am definitely looking to do a few videos this month for that format. I think it would be nice to, as we say, throw them a bone, get a chance to do content for both formats, because I'm a firm believer that the more custom formats are being played, the better. So that's really funny. I feel like there was an assemble the party calculation there. What? No. Oh. So there probably was, which is kind of funny. All right, let's check out hands here. Very different starts for Neon, actually. Seeing more of the white-blue side. We've got Henros Royal Herald. Whenever you cast a legendary spell to play a legendary land, you get to put a counter on Henros and gain a life. And then you can dig for legendary cards. Emperor's Retainer gives legendary creatures you control +1/+1. And then Seeker Terrace gives all the keywords out. And then Tal Loka Sentry lets you pick card types to make them cost one more. So I'm going to start with a Frigid Thicket. I'm going to tap it for 1 and I'm going to run out Emperor's Retainer. Over on Nyx's side, I'm guessing it's going to be a Terraformer's Globe. Very similar cards. The one new one we haven't seen is a Colonel Quarantine. It costs 4. It's got flash if you control another enchantment, which tends to happen. And when it enters, you exile all other creatures until Colonel Quarantine leaves the battlefield. So we're at 2. That's going to be a Tal Loka Sentry. Got a feeling we might be picking enchantment here. I mean, there's other picks, but knowing the deck that was being played before, I mean, there was a big mix of stuff, but the enchantments are what were really, going a little nuts with Midnight Drury and stuff. But I might be wrong. Maybe we're going with instants for the removal. Okay, so cards like Out of Body and the counter spells are going to cost 1 more. And Tal is going to be a 3/2 flyer now, thanks to Emperor's Retainer. So being a 2/1 by itself means you can start chipping in for some good amount of damage. Drew a Dust-Ridden Sepulcher. This is a card I haven't seen often, I would say, in Constructed. Taps for colorless. You can pay 1 and a tap. Target player exiles a card from their graveyard. If it was a creature or a planeswalker card, it was exiled that way. You get a Vessel token, which instead of cracking as a clue, it's an enchantment that's 2, sack it, get a 1/1 spirit with flying. So it's an interesting card. Midnight Drury comes out here on 2. Again, Out of Body costing 2 meant that, couldn't essentially do both. So it's live. Thankfully, the spirits that it makes are tapped, so even a Terraformer's Globe activation won't specifically give you any blockers. Henros comes out, is a 3/2, and we're going to chip in for 5 damage here in the air. Terraformer's Globe is going to do a whatever to get a first tapped Flying Spirit. Let's remember, instants still cost 1 more. We've got a second Colonel Quarantine here. We have enough lands, and there's always Aberrant if we really need to. Running out of Terraformer's Globe just to cycle up to another land. Going to imagine we're seeing, so Dust-Ridden is here, so there's some flexibility. You've got Event Horizon is neat, but currently it does cost 1 more. So this 2 mana up is like an out-of-body experience. Terraformer's Globe tapping on this turn is important because it means now with 2 of them, you can start making 1 spirit on their turn, 1 spirit on your turn, so on and so forth. Up to 4 lands here, so a very different start for Neon Blue. Nebula. I don't know if we're going to go for the full Bant or maybe just blue. Do we even need the blue? Everything here is mono. You have to pick at least 2 colors, so it might just be green-white. Maybe you hedge your bets. Okay. You didn't have any red in the hand. I wonder if it's a transformative sideboard. I wonder if all of the red legends were tucked away and then switched to a more controlling shell. I'm going to have to ask Neon afterwards, because the fact that we're not naming red here and we're relying on Shikami to be the red source might mean that red was put away. I don't know. Could be interesting. Ah, there we go. Okay, well, that answers my question. We went to Naya. So red is still in the build. Let's see. I'm going to guess it's going to be Seeker, because now you can give everything flying. So it's the same as true for First strike, double strike, death touch, haste, hexproof, indestructible, lifelink, menace, reach, trample, and vigilance. So it's gonna Seeker is gonna be a 3/3 thanks to the Emperor's Retainer. The important thing is that everything has flying, because as long as a creature you control has creatures you control have it. So we're gonna throw the 4/3 and the 3/2, but the out of body experience is going to take care of the Emperor's Retainer. They're going to make a 1/1, and then because of that, Tal is going to drop down into a 2/1, and then I would imagine the Spirit there is going to block Tal to clear that up as well. Henros is then going to drop only to dealing 3 damage. Let me just check real quick. Just gonna check real quick. I only see 1 counter on it. Players aren't checking. I mean, there's only so much I can do. Like, okay. Super, just making sure people are on top of stuff. That meow, I don't know if you heard it. That's my Nikki. She's adorable, but she's being annoying. I love her very much, but she has plenty of food in her food bowl, but because it's not perfectly in the center of the bowl, she's complaining a little bit. So I love the dust is, I don't know, a mountain. I love how you have to kind of state it, but you really don't want to. You just want to keep making spirits. You don't really care about what you're turning your lands into. Here's the other card that's actually part of that combo. So Midnight Drury and Spiritual Guidance were in the second and the first set respectively. This one is gain a life, draw a card, and it taps or untaps. And this one creates a spirits, but it's got gain a life, draw a card on the activation, which I thought was a interesting nod to Spiritual Guidance. So cool little combo. I'm glad that there's a deck that plays both. All right, so we are seeing Tal Locust Sentry coming back out again, naming instant. Event Horizon is going to now cost 3. That was a legendary for Henros, and now that Tal is there, Seeker Terrace gives flying. Oh, I mean, the Elemental was already there, so that's fine. Swinging for 7 in the air. Terraformer's Globe, we're going to turn Ocean Monastery. This one might be a little more relevant because you can actually use the mana. So Mountain responds to the Midnight Trigger, so before the token enters... What? Okay, yeah. Gonna pay 4 and gonna cast Kernel Quarantine. So you don't want to have your token enter and then get nuked. You just want Kernel Quarantine to eat the board. So, and it's got flash because Midnight Drury is already on the battlefield. And then you're gonna have the 1/1 spirit. You do lose your spirits, but it is what it is. So you lose the elemental. There goes Tal. And there we go. I actually can't. It's not a mountain until Dreary resolves. Yeah, okay, I see, yeah. Dreary resolves and then it's a mountain. Yeah, okay, there we go. That is correct because that trigger goes on top of the turning this into a mountain. So having fun with the stack at 2 p.m. in the afternoon. But that's okay. I mean, Kernel Quarantine ate 3 creatures and you lost a few tokens, so really not that bad. Gonna use the mana optimally. Gonna cast out this Mattia here. I guess one of the reasons you don't want Henros is that if Colonel Quarantine gets popped, then you lose one of your creatures, but you don't have a Mattia under here. The fact that it also has reach is relevant. All right, Spiritual Guidance coming out. Terraformer's Globe means we're going to start getting, or I mean, obviously, fetch land. Means we're going to start getting spirits, life, and card draw, and that's where things start getting pretty interesting. There's still another Colonel Quarantine here. Portal Fracture in the hand, able to counterspell most things apparently in this Legends deck since it hits mana value 2 or less. As a hard counterspell if you control 4 or more differently named lands. Pretty solid. Okay, played Aberrant as a Shroudmaker's Domain, which is fun. It's nice to see this being an actual land. I'm happy I was able to find art from Mark Erskine on both the front half and the back halves for all 5 of these MDFCs in the cycle. So, Embodied Soul coming out, gonna start growing. I love that we untap the stuff under Colonel Quarantine. It doesn't, obviously they're not there, but okay, we drew into Remy Amber, Slighten Specialist. Is a 3/3 flying lifelink haste. It's pulling off a pretty decent Lightning Angel impression. And if you manage to get to your 5 color, white, blue, black, red, green, you exile Remy and then return it transform beginning of the next end phase. And it turns into Remy Amber Unlimited, which makes a 1/1 blue elemental creature token with flying. Then you crystallize twice. -3 is exile non-land permanence. Its owner can pay Wooburg to get it back to their hand. And then -7, get an emblem with simply pay 1 life, add 1 mana of any color, and then you just gain 100 life. So it's the -7 is kind of nuts. But I mean, you've paid white, blue, black, red, green after paying blue, red, white, and then you got up to, so it's the payoff for doing a lot of big mana stuff. So Terraformer's Globe going to trigger again. Next is at 3. I mean, there's blockers, but that lifelink, the reach, the clock is being reset here. Neon is just gaining a lot of life. And as we saw, the spirits don't kill particularly fast at the beginning, especially not if you're blocking with them. But they do some work. Let's just see what we've got left in the tank here. A lot of little triggers, a lot of things to trigger Midnight Jury and Spiritual Guidance, honestly. It's pretty easy to get these to activate. So Hemley as a Planeswalker can activate them. So here's my cat again. Keeps trying to jump on the desk, but she is not allowed on the desk. The desk is where I work, and she gets to stay on the bed. Hemley is going to do -2 to put a non-land permanent into the owner's library, second from the top. So going to put Remy away for now. Pretty scary target. Yes. Maybe I'll send a picture of the cat. All right. Untapped Cataract going to 2 life. Imagine if there's just like a Scorch all of a sudden. I mean, you've got answers to Scorch, so that's not really a problem. You've got Flukes, you've got Fracture. Speaking of MDFCs, here's the other one. It's Cephalovor's Flukes. It's a 1/1 flash. Counter spells that target you or permanents you control. And then again, the backside is a tapped land. I went pretty conservative, I would say, on the backsides. I didn't feel the need to have the MH3. You can pay 3 life to have them untapped. They're already the first real MDFC lands in the format, so I wasn't exactly in the mood to push them much harder. I believe I already made their front sides be pretty competitively costed, so like that's usually what you would pay for this, and the same goes for Aberrant Apostle. Oh, which is here, right? Okay, so response to the attack here with Mattia and Henros. So that put the counter, I believe, on Henros. So in response to that happening, I believe we're going to see a Event Horizon now that there's 2 non-lands. It's good to diversify, but like, yeah, whatever was going to get big, Event's just going to take it out. Neon Blue has a response here. Is going to use, I would assume, Henros's ability. You look at the top 6, exile a legendary card from among them, then shuffle. If it has mana value less than Henros's power, it goes on the battlefield tapped. If you don't, you put it onto your hand. So the counter is still a 2. Yeah, the counter is not on it yet, so it's a 2-1 right now. It's just important that we note that so we don't accidentally pull something that costs 3. Give me a second. I'm going to get rid of my cat again. Yes, I love you too. I love you too. I love all my cats. I have 3 lovely little cats. They're just not allowed on the desk. I don't know why she's jumping up here right now. It is what it is. All right, Neon Blue looking at the 6 cards is at 20, but obviously Event Horizon is slowly removing whatever clock Neon had, and eventually things might start getting scary between Embodied Soul, the spirits, the life gain off of spiritual guidance. There's Monument of Queens, a lot of stuff. So went and found the Remy that we knew was somewhere near the top, but because the power is 2, not 3, Remy doesn't go onto the battlefield. Remy goes to the hand. So Mattia just going to attack as a 2/2. I wonder if this is where you... yeah, okay. I'm like, I think you just double block here. I said you're perfectly willing to throw these little tokens. And if you haven't made one this turn... I haven't followed. I assume that if the trigger hadn't happened, we would have seen a Terraformer's Globe or anything, but looks like it did. 2/1/1s. I mean, it is a flying lifelink case, but you know it's in the hand, which means, let's see, Portal Fracture can't take care of it easily because it's mana value 3, and you've used your Event Horizon. Anyway, Event Horizon couldn't have hit it because it's the only one. I mean, you've got Kernel Quarantine. It's just that simple, right? Another Portal Fracture for anything else that Neon draws. It's wild when you see, a player at 4 life and a player at 20, but the player at 4 life has the advantage in a sense because their engine's just going to keep growing. Yep. All right, Embodied's going to activate here. I believe that's just 2, so it's going to be a 2/2. Doesn't have lifelink. No, it does. It has flying lifelink. So we're going to go up to 6. I don't know why we took 3. Yeah. There was a time when yeah, okay, there we go. I see where the confusion might have been. That was a tap, but maybe you'd have thought it was attacking if you had looked away for a second. All right. Definitely not a turn to use Hemley. You've got mana for days. You've got answers. Many Voice Tower is nice, but yeah, there's the 3 sacks. You can get a legend, which isn't irrelevant. But seeing Remy Amber is going to probably get cast. Pretty cool. Going to use the Dust-Ridden Sepulture, just so you don't forget. Draw a card, gain a life, going to make another spirit. Drew Out of Body, which honestly just might be the better answer here. Because Kernel Quarantine can just take out so much more. It makes more sense to use Out of Body experience. And Neon's like, all right, that's enough. My stuff just got removed left and right, and I have a lot of life, but I'm not going to recover from that. So I believe that was a 2-0. I think that was 2 wins here for the white-blue control deck. If that's the kind of deck that you like, lots of little triggers, lots of little things going on, just accruing that minute value that eventually goes a little nuts. Yeah, the deck list I'm sure is going to appear at one point. I know some other players have played it in Grand Prix before, so yeah. Assemble the Party is quite neat though. So hopefully you've enjoyed. I think this might be my last video for now. The weather up here is still quite hot. I'm going to take the opportunity to run the AC a little bit and relax. It's been a lot of recording today, but I do want to get a Revolution match in sometime soon. If not today, then probably tomorrow. So thanks again for staying in, staying tuned, for checking in, and we'll see you really soon on the next video. So take care.